Hello and welcome to 10 Very Big Books, a Malazan read-through podcast. My name is Peter Bond. I've read every book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen, and so has my co-hosts. So have my co-hosts first. My friend and close confidant, India Jones.
Hi, hello.
My producer, AJ Fileri.
Hello.
Do you like this? Am I speaking into the mic enough for you?
You know what? I don't give a fuck. It's episode.
That's right.
This is the like 140th episode of stuff that we've recorded, and for you to start worrying about it now is honestly an insult.
Last day of school, baby. Joshua Dean Baker, how you doing, buddy?
You know, I'm tired, but it's, you know, we're in the summer. I'm a teacher in the summer, so I'm not mad about it.
Slacker is what I'm hearing.
Slacker.
Yeah.
Josh holds his tongue.
You caught me. I only spent 4 hours doing work today that I was unpaid for. You're so right, AJ.
Finally.
Well, we should pay teachers less. Am I right?
I honestly think
you
they
know
should
what?
be docked for the summer.
Thank you for your
Yes.
bravery.
I just want someone had to say it. Okay.
They've
People
had it
need
too
to
good
speak
for
up.
too long.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Those teachers make too
I'm
much
gonna go
money.
fucking kill myself now. Thank you.
God.
Oh my God. Josh, please don't.
Okay.
Okay. Hey everyone, we did it. We're back and we're riding high over here. But 2 or 3 days ago, we all convened in Pennsylvania to record and to do the Malazan Stream of the Fallen, where we raised over $5,000 for pro literacy, the largest adult literacy and education organization in the nation. And it was an absolute blast. So I just wanted to extend truly from the bottom of my heart, a huge thank you to everyone who showed up, who watched any part of the stream, who gave any money or told anyone about it. It really was a ton of fun to put together. It was a ton of fun to do. It was a ton of fun to interact with the community that day. And of course, I'm also glad we were able to raise that money. So just a big thanks. And I think, I don't want to speak for my co-hosts. I'm personally very happy with how the stream turned out.
I'm actually really upset, and I wish that we didn't make any money.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I'm
we didn't make any money, AJ. I don't know. I hate to break the news to you.
I'm upset because I said that if we hit 5,000, I would read the rest of the Malazan books, and these
then we did.
motherfuckers were just so generous that now I have to.
Yeah, so it was just a great time. And I will say this, 10 hours, long time.
Long time. For like, I distinctly remember the first time Peter said we were going to do it for 10 hours. My response was, that sounds like a very long time. And Peter was like, no, it's going to be fine. And like hour 2 of the stream, Peter was like, guys, 10 hours is really long. Why'd we pick 10 hours?
Okay, I didn't say why. We picked 10 because 10's in the name of the show, okay?
Yeah, we could have done 5. It's half a 10.
The V for very is 5.
See?
Wow.
Thank you, AJ.
I'm not Roman, so I'm sorry to break that news to you.
Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020. We should have done a
And
20 hour.
is double 10.
So what I'm understanding is we should have just done 20 hours.
Yes, 100%.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, everyone. So back onto the show. This is the next episode after our mega The Crippled God last chapter episode.
Yes.
As for what's next after our Crippled God read through, we have about 3 episodes on schedule, and then we kind of don't know. So first, we will have today's episode, which will be the kind of mailbag wrap-up focused on 9 and 10. After that, we'll be talking to Steven Erikson about Dusted Dreams and Crippled God, in addition to probably just some questions about the whole series. And then finally, we'll kind of do a wrap-up for our read-through of the Malazan Book of the Fallen and answer questions and talk about the entire series. After that, we're not quite sure what we're going to do, so that's probably all you'll hear from us for a while.
Whatever's next, we will post on this, an update on this feed, so don't go anywhere in terms of your subscription.
Okay, everyone, so Dust of Dreams, The Crippled God.
Yeah.
Woo.
2 different books.
Yeah.
Well, debatably.
Or when you think about it, is it one book, really?
I'd
Yeah.
say one
So
book.
let's start with that question. India,
Yeah,
2
sure.
books or 1 book?
2 books.
AJ,
Yeah, definitely 2 books.
Josh?
I mean, I would argue the whole series is kind of just one continuation, but
Well, it's one story, but definitely 2 books.
yeah, no, if it takes up 2 spots on my bookshelf, it's 2 books.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I have to take the one book position since everyone on this podcast.
Peter,
the little
Peter,
little
you-
physician over there has all their tools and measurements.
This is the story of your life, Peter. You do not need to be different.
Yeah, you can
from
just
everyone
agree with
else.
all of us.
You can just agree.
We can all order chicken fingers. It's fine.
I didn't even want chicken fingers, AJ.
I wanted a hamburger.
You actually pointed them out on the menu from what I remember.
I don't know what this conversation's about.
Well, you sound like a fool right now, Josh.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I mostly agree that it reads to me as 2 books, and there is this singular story, but I don't know. It's just weird. It's a weird thing to have it split this way, you know? For me.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked a bit about this, Pete, when we were going to pick up India, that like 9 and 10 being a continuous story isn't like completely out of the ordinary for the series. Like 1 and 3 are continuations of each other, 2 and 4 are continuations of each other, but never throughout the 10, except for the last 2, are those directly next to each other. And so I think that is a lot of the reason why like this conversation of like, is it 1 book? Is it 2? You know, because like you could put the books that are direct sequels to each other directly next to each other, and it would be like the same experience as 9 and 10.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, only because 9 and 10 are like circling the same ideas and themes and like the same plot lines literally, and the release doesn't really happen until 10. Whereas if you put 2 and 4 next to each other, there are different ideas in both. And at the end of 2, you're like, oh, that was a whole story. As opposed to at the end of 9, I do really feel like it's the end of Dune 1. And I'm like, okay, where's Dune 2? And I'm talking about the Denis Villeneuve films here.
I was about to say, I thought notoriously the sequels to Dune
No.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the Frank Herbert books. But you take my point. So I don't know. I hear what you're saying, that the stories definitely do continue, and it's not unprecedented in this series. But I think the like 1, 3, 2, 4, like those books feel to me more complete packages.
Yeah.
Where 9 to me really is the only book in the series that feels like a complete open-ended sentence.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I do still think it falls in the category of like 1 story, 2 books for me.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I said as a bit, we kind of got off on a thing. So let's get into some of the questions.
Okay.
This question comes in from Philotic. The combined dramatis personae list for these last 2 books is incredibly long. One might even say very big. Let's improve it by adding a new section. The list of 10 very big books nominated, 9, 10 specific MVPs. This is for characters who stood out specifically because of their actions or developments in these last 2 books. Who is in that list? We all get 1 entry, let the record show.
Wow.
Okay, well, I know Peter's first. It's not even a question.
Wow, fascinated to know what you think it is.
Peter's first answer is Ulag Tugtil.
Nice. Not who I was going to pick. I'm very curious to hear India's.
1 person that was just like the MVP of 2 books.
And they don't have to have been introduced in these 2 books, right, Peter?
Yeah, just someone who really stood out in these last 2 books.
Gotcha.
1 person that just stood out.
You get 1.
amongst the
You get
crowds.
1. You got to pick 1.
Yes. Okay. Our unsung hero, Tavor, for only her first POV of the whole series.
That would have been my answer if you didn't pick it, India.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a tough question.
It's really tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel. Listen, I'll pick someone else, but India, I really agree. I mean, to the extent that in these last 2 books, your vision of Tavor comes into focus, and your understanding of her character arc, what she's been going through, her emotions, her interiority, it really is a huge change compared to earlier installments of the series. AJ, Josh?
I'm still considering the question. It's a very good question.
Yeah, I think this was my first instinct, and I think I'm just going to go with it. I think Tool has to be on there.
Wow.
I think a lot of Tool's storyline centers the themes around these books and around the series. I think that that just feels important to the books. But I guess it also depends on what you mean by MVPs, you know? stood out specific. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot. Tool doesn't have a lot of sections in comparison to everybody else, but like if you put them all back to back, I would say every single Tool section is like holy shit for the most part for me.
Tool has a pretty big story across both books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I feel like there are a bunch of times where we're just like checking in, seeing what Tool's up to, and then moving on. In some ways, I don't know.
My answer would be, I think, Yet on Derrig, the Watch.
That was
Or Pithy and Brevity combined. I think I'd go with Pithy and Brevity combined. I think that would be my answer.
Whoa.
Yeah, more than the Watch.
Well,
Really?
my answer is very similar, Josh. I think if I'm not choosing Tavor, I'm choosing Jan Tovos.
Yeah, Jan Tovos was on my list too.
Now, are any of these questions about all of that storyline? Because I have thoughts about that storyline that go past it was sick, and they are somewhat negative, and I would like to talk about them at some point. I guess that'll be in the wrap up.
Yeah.
Get into it. What are you talking about? We got all the time in the world, baby.
Well, I was like, oh, well, Jan, Yet and Derrig, absolute go, MVP, such an important storyline, because canonically, the Spinach Durov thing after is my favorite thing, maybe of the whole series. And then I was like, wait a minute, why did all that happen? And I don't know the answer. Like, other than the Tisti Leosian, and we needed to have another thing that could go wrong or involve all those characters that we'd had spent time. Like, I don't know. I don't really know how that led to the ending of book 10. Like, what impact it had on the end of book 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, Josh. I know exactly what you mean.
Okay. Really, really cool, but leaves me wondering structurally why, I think.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I feel like its place in the larger structure is just like there is stuff happening elsewhere because I feel like a lot of the stuff tied into around 9 and 10, like we're finally seeing the results of like the things that were started in the past, or were like changed in the past, and now we're coming into the future and seeing like how do we move on from that stuff, or how do we restart from that stuff. And so I think it's more so a thematically centered storyline and less so of like has a direct narrative impact on the rest of the storyline.
Okay. I get that.
Build on AJ's point. I think when we did the live stream and I was talking about how Dust of Dreams and Crippled God are not some of my most favorite entries in this series.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of that reason, Josh, that I first really bounced off the book was because of this exact thing, is because 9 starts and I'm like, okay, so this is like we're doing Tavor, like we're about the Bone Hunters, but half of that book is about all of these other storylines, and they're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what is going on? What is all of their relationships? And in the end, there really isn't a relationship. The relationship to a lot of them is thematic,
Right.
And like, Carcanis is really the only one that ends up being completely off on another island. The Snake one does obviously become a big part of that story in Calance. But the Carcanis one is off on an island. So I definitely was like, oh, what? I was asking like, why is this in here? What's this relationship? And, I do think I can dig into the thematic elements. But Josh, to your end, I mostly agree with you. And as much as I love the Carcana storyline, I do find the motivation for the Tisti Leosian lacking. And I don't really connect with them. And I don't actually feel that invested in or have a deep understanding of why they're in conflict with the Andy and what they represent. I think that extends as well to the Carabas and Calamandro storyline. To me, these are plot elements that to me detract from my enjoyment of these last 2 books, where I feel like the sprawl is so big and I'm like, did we need a dragon that's also ending the world?
Yeah, 100%. And I would say after that, I think we've really nailed answering this first question. Should we go to the next?
Sorry, just to stay on that for another moment. I feel like not the Carabas stuff. That's a totally different thing, and I do think is narratively connected. Like things needed to happen in order for the Crippled God stuff, Haboric stuff to work, and so we needed the dragon that was ending the world to come out. But with with the Tistiliosian, I feel like they are just another mirror of like the Forkrilla Sail, who are these kind of like ancient races who are like, well, we've always been fighting and conquesting, and we can only continue to do that. And I think, you know, the Tistiandi and the Shake, and then also the Bone Hunters and everybody against the Forkrilla Sail are like the quote unquote modern world saying, no, there's no place for that anymore, or at least not in the way that there used to be. So that's how I feel about those storylines. I like them.
Interesting. I mean, I see the Tistiliosian and Forkrilla Sail like as representing different things. And to the Carabas and to like, I'm ultimately not that bummed out by these things because I think there's a lot of thematic and connective tissue between them. And ultimately that is enough for me. I don't know if I need a direct cause and effect between these different story elements. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes there's a lot of story elements in these two books.
There definitely are a lot of story elements.
There's a lot of, and just they keep getting lined up, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we end up with our list as? Tavor, Jan Tovis, Yenendereg,
Pithy
and
Brevity,
Tool.
and Ulog Tugtil.
And Ulag Tugtil.
He's the free space on the bingo card. He has to be there. There's
Yeah.
simply no other choice.
All right. AJ, this comes in from Gallos, the Fallen One.
I see that.
Did you realize that the reason Badal could stop people with her voice because she was eating the shards of the Forkrilla Sail god during the whole journey? Hence, eaters of diamonds and gems.
No, but I read this question and immediately like fist bumped because that's like really fucking cool.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Was she the only one eating them?
I think it's very cool. And to me, it's part of like the way the snake storyline is like secretly doing world building for the Forkrilla Sail the whole time.
Yeah.
Is like such a like stealth and kind of genius way to like slowly flesh out this world, this kingdom, the effects the Forkrilla Sail have had on their peoples. You know, really cool stuff in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, Indy, I'm coming back to you, especially after your earlier comment. This question comes in from Nefarious Croissant. Tavor has been a polarizing character on the pod so far. What's your opinion of her now that you've read all 10 books?
I like Tavor. I'm a Tavor head now, I would say. From the beginning, I didn't have much of an opinion. I thought that she was kind of boring, mostly, and a part that I would like to not really pay attention to because, I don't know, it was just the same thing every time, and you didn't know what she was thinking. I never thought that she was necessarily, like, doing something bad, but I just got tired of trying to figure it out, ultimately. So it was kind of, I think, very deserved as the reader to have finally a POV of her. And yeah, I liked her a lot. I mean, her last speech, like that she gave was really, really moving. Just seeing her the moments before was really, really moving. So Team Tavor as of book 10.
AJ, Josh?
I've always liked Tavor, and I've been a Tavor apologist. So I still like Tavor.
I think she's pretty great. The that last fight with the regulars was sick as hell.
All right, I guess you're gonna make me the villain again on the pod.
Peter,
You're such
you
a
can
fucker.
just say, you know what? Here, I'll do it this time.
And you're the
I don't wink.
I actually
don't
hate
wink
Tavor now.
like Tavor.
I like Tavor. I find the story arc effective and moving. However,
Oh my god.
I think it's safe to say she did kill her sister. And that's just a fact.
We're gonna hold that over her head for fucking ever. Come on, everyone's done it.
Whoa.
Well, listen. As much as I am serious that I am holding on to the grudge about the Fellison murder. You know, which I hold Tavor accountable for.
Totally. So does she.
Well, and me and Tavor are in agreement about that. How do you guys feel about this weird, like, she has a Talon thing? And what do you make of that?
Yeah, that was confusing.
Yeah.
Because there's the claw and the Talon, right? And the claw is like the people under the Empress, and then the Talon were the ones that Bowden was. And we knew that like someone had pulled strings to get Bowden to help Fellison, and you know he was a Talon. But like that's 8 books ago. You know, I would say it really didn't hit that hard because mostly I was just like, is this relevant right now?
My reading of that is that she is in some ways in league with Shadow Throne and Cotillion.
Because it was Cotillion's
It was
assassins,
Cotillion's
right?
Assassins,
Yes.
correct. And that is represents that she is in some ways loyal to them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't like that idea. You know, I don't know if that's really that true, but that's my understanding of it. So
I feel like it's less of a loyalty thing and more of a Cotillion or Dancer, whenever it happened, coming to Tavor and being like, look, you want to make sure your sister's safe? Help me out. And then enlisting her. And then she does something that, she begins, I don't know, whatever fucking thing happens next with Tavor, I guess whatever happens in House of Chains. And then in exchange, he sent Bowden to like look after Velison. I don't know. And then I think in the end, I do think there's an element of just like wanting to feel like a person again. And that was the only jewelry she had.
Yeah, and that's where it's like, I'm not quite sure how to read that moment. But listen, ultimately, I obviously like her storyline a lot. And I think her relationship to the soldiers is really beautiful. And I find that very admirable. So.
If anything, it doesn't make me like her less or her storyline less. It just makes me realize that like, Shadowthrone and Cotillion really had their fingers in all the pies,
And how does that make you feel about their involvement?
I mean, I guess validating in some ways, because like we knew that kind of this whole thing was their doing, and it makes sense for like at least some part of Tavor's expeditions all over the world to also be connected to them somehow. So I'm, it just kind of makes sense to me.
Josh, this question comes in from Bird Commodore 18. Which character's conclusion affected you the most, happy or sad? Carabas, Haboric, Sin, Corlat, Krull, Mel's storyline all got me weepy. I could not have been happier for Fiddler.
I would say the Corlat one I really agree with. I thought that was a really beautiful ending. I love the idea of all the bridge burner bone hunters like freaking out when they thought she was going to throw the thing away. Whatever was in that pouch. Was it a stone? Is that right? Little rock?
I forgot. Yeah, something
like that. I thought it was a really, really nice storyline. Blows my mind that this commenter got weepy over Sin. We apparently had very different reading experiences. Good for them. That's crazy to me. The Haboric thing really frustrated me. We'll go over our rankings in a podcast, but the Haboric stuff I talked about on the stream, I found profoundly dissatisfying pretty much the whole series after book 4. And for him to come back and just like exist and have one weird dreamy sequence with the crippled god, I didn't think that was payoff even close to enough for me. So
India, your point in, how do you feel about the Haboric stuff?
That was, I don't really know. It never really felt like I never understood it, and then it became okay. Like for a while I was like, shit, I need to figure this out. And then it just kind of went away and it became okay that I didn't understand it. And then every now and again, there'd be like a random Jade thing and AJ or Josh would be like, hey, maybe that's, and I'd be like, who? So yeah, no comment. Never understood it. Still don't.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm always struggling to understand it. So I was never able to, I kind of ended up losing my connection emotionally to that storyline.
Yeah.
You're all fucking wrong. Haboric's storyline is good.
No, AJ, you could just order chicken nuggets, okay?
Yeah, AJ, it's okay. You don't have to disagree.
Josh.
I am on record loving the Haboric storyline every single time, and it still hit for me at the end.
I just felt like Steve was a little too hands-off with it for too long.
Hey.
Thank you.
He could have used a bit of a heavier touch.
I could keep going, but I feel like we have to move on.
AJ, what about you? Which character's conclusion affected you the most, happy or sad?
I mean, Yen and Derrick's stuff was really sad, but also kind of like really nice. Like, oh, I finally see home. I mean, I feel like, okay, I really liked Karsa's conclusion because I really like that scene of him with the guy, and then I also like when he summons he summons Fenner. That's sick as shit. I think that's really cool, but that feels disingenuous to call that a conclusion. That's just like the last time we see Karsa, and that doesn't feel like a conclusion to me. It's just like, well, Karsa did that, and now he's gonna go do something else, but you just don't see it. And so I think Stormy and Gessler's stuff really hit me, and obviously Fiddler's was just chef's kiss. So good.
Love Fiddler.
All right. India, coming to you. This question comes in from Fid the Other. We've been following Cotillion for a long time now. He's a god character that has developed quite a bit in comparison to other deity figures. How does everyone feel about him at the end of this series, and how do you feel about his assassination of the crippled god?
Developed how? Like, character-wise? Like, we just learn more?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, he was like, I'm going to take over the body of this little girl. That'll be fine. And then immediately is like, ooh, actually, this is kind of a shitty thing to do. And then with like Lestariel shadow dancing stuff, and it's like, I'm not going to do that anymore. You know, that stuff, I think.
Interesting. I don't agree.
I'm with India, kind of. I don't think he's developing so much as like, I mean, in the grand scheme of gods, he's only been in God for like fucking 20 years or something, you know?
Right.
Like, it's not developing so much as he just tried something once and then went, wrong choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he made the choice in the beginning. I don't think it was like an experiment. He's like, this is the only way to do this thing. And then when he did it, he was like, actually, maybe there is a different way to do this. I would say I'll say that's definitely much more growth than almost any other character that's a god has. Sure.
Although I do think there are gods. I kind of is the question, I guess. I don't really know.
That literally is the question. Yeah.
There's some gods that like I think develop in bad ways more than Cotillion develops in any way. You know what I mean?
Totally. Like the errant just gets worse and worse.
Exactly. The errant, Sikolaf, the two of them just kind of like go off the deep end in the last two books. Like,
right.
The errant is truly one of the characters that has almost no redeeming qualities.
Yeah, and what I dislike about the errant is that like I'm talking about Cotillion, you know, only being alive for 20, you know, only being a god for 20 years. Like the errant's been alive for thousands of years as a god. You know, you would think the dude would move a little bit more measured pace. And then in like, you know, book 7 just like absolutely goes off the deep end.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can move. We're just seeing him at the end of moving at a measured pace. Like, this has been thousands of years of lead up, and we are just seeing the breaking point.
I would argue not, though, AJ, because in book 5, he's explicitly just being a fuckboy, like, and is very cool with it, and has no plans for further world domination.
Yeah. Listen.
Yeah, but there's always going to be like, in 3 years, I'm going to go nuts. You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be...
I disagree. I do not think he had a plan that within 5 years he would release the end of the world in order to wipe humanity from existence.
But
I don't think he had that plan.
Sometimes, Josh, not everyone has a 5 years plan. Okay?
That's
and
true.
maybe your 5-year plan might be that you're going to unleash Karavas in the next 5 years. You don't know.
It's true. I feel like there's like a end of the world Karavas Oppenheimer joke I can get, but I think I'm too dumb to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Karabenheimer. Yeah.
Keep going. Do not pay attention to that.
I will just say, to me, I end up feeling very queasy about Cotillion and Shadow Throne and their whole involvement. Because I guess ultimately, and maybe this is a reason to read Path to Ascendancy, I'm always intrigued by this idea that Cotillion feels like he like lost touch with some element of his humanity when he ascended, and you can see he clearly feels like a shell of his former self. That's my reading of it. But
who doesn't? You
know, to me, I guess my understanding of his life is also one of brutal conquest and domination. You know, like, listen, I'm a longtime foe to the Malazan Empire. And my basic understanding of his mortal life is that he was a military commander for decades and oversaw the conquest of various lands. Do you know what I mean? And was an assassin, you know? So I'm curious to him what the change in his humanity really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it probably has something to do with like Dancer and Kelaved's plan was to like, we do all this stuff and then we can become gods and that'll be great because when we're gods, we can do whatever we want. But I think for Cotillion, it's like, oh, actually becoming a god and being able to do whatever I want actually kind of sucks.
Yeah, I think it is a dissatisfaction with a power they have accrued.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like, why then? You know what
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. But listen, that is how it is sometimes. People just get to some point of power and...
I want to say, to answer the other half of that question, I was left very disillusioned with the killing of the crippled god. And I know...
the whole pod was confused. I was all set. Everyone else was like, what was that?
I know that there are people who have written out exactly what the long con is. I am not interested in reading that. If I ever decide to reread these books, I hope I'll understand what this endgame was better.
Pete, could you speak to that at all? Like, did you feel like you could see Shadow Throne and Cotillion's puzzle pieces as we were going through?
Definitely more.
The second time?
Yeah, 100%. And it also is like, you're aware that they are masterminding the scheme, so to speak, you know?
Well, isn't that the case always? Didn't we always say that?
And I know there's like a question to as, are they actually masterminding it or are they just putting on the front that they are masterminding it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I think there are inarguably various hard actions they take that have serious influence over the course of the series and specifically the air quotes assassination of the crippled god. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it does feel like they win in some ways, which doesn't sit well with me because I don't particularly like either of those characters.
Yeah.
Even if them winning is them saving the world in a way.
Well, I wouldn't say in a way. I would say it is them saving the world.
Yeah, you're right.
And I guess, like, did they have some sort of gift of divine knowledge that they were like, oh, the crippled god is here and here's exactly what's happening. And if we don't do something about it, the world is going to end because of that?
Yeah, so I don't know if we know much. We don't really know much about their motivations, is my understanding.
Sure.
And to the extent that we know any of their motivations, it comes through Cotillion, who is much more readable to us as the reader than Shadow Throne, who's always just like, Cain, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know?
Cain.
Cackle, cackle, cackle.
Yeah.
All right, we have been going through. I just want to shout out two quick questions before we kind of get to our wrap up thoughts. First, Drex Trouser asked me how it was, how much I enjoyed it, the series the second time around, and how much of an ending the surprise was. And I'll just respond. The ending surprised me in a ton of different ways the second time around. There was stuff I really remembered, but lots of stuff, like essentially the whole Gruntle ending, I had completely mind warped, you know. And there's just lots of other parts. Like I had forgotten how Carabas got wrapped up. I had forgotten some of these other elements. You know, I feel like just specific scenes like how Tavor and the Marines and the normals, the regulars, and the Karsa stuff that stood out. But other stuff I think was gone in a wash. Last, and Josh, this is a question we touched on a little bit on the live stream, but here's it from you and from Fusian. The books are famous for their huge cast and no character is present in all 10 books. With that said, who do you see as the main character? Some say Fiddler or Tavor, and I think those are good answers. Others lean towards Kamensadh, but I can also think you can make an argument for Cotillion. He goes from a fairly callous god to being far too human for his own good by the end.
Yeah, we definitely talked about this on the live stream, and I personally lean towards Fiddler. I think he is a huge through line through both the bridge burners, who start as what the closest thing you could call to protagonists, and then he's the only through line from them really into the bone hunters, who clearly are the protagonists at the end of the series. I think Tavor is a good answer, but I just don't think I find it hard to have a protagonist whose head you don't get into until like the very end of the book, you know?
And that's somewhat how I feel about the idea of Cotillion main character. But
yeah,
I like the idea. It's an interesting idea to view the lens through the series through his.
Yeah, I will say I find it very interesting. This book more than others. It's like when I think of a protagonist, I think of 9 times out of 10, I think of the person who has most, directly influenced and impacted the story through their actions. I would say Tavor is 100% a better fit than for Fiddler, but I've never had a scenario where like that person is also inscrutable and all unable to ever be inside their heads, you know?
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you for writing in with questions. We only had time to answer some, but we appreciated everyone who wrote in. We also had the chance to talk to a lot of people on live stream. So I'm not going to lie. I think all 4 of us are still probably feeling a little pooped from the live stream.
I feel fine. Don't speak for me.
I will say live streams, all 10 hours of it up on our YouTube channel. You should go check it out. Lots of great conversations up there.
I would say your best times to watch, probably hour 2, hour 10 gets a little loopy.
Okay.
Hour 7, AJ goes topless and really don't know how we didn't get demonetized. So
I put a
Well,
box.
we weren't monetized to begin with, so
I
that's
put
how.
a box
What?
on my head in the stream. So
Peter
if you want to see a
did-
box on the head.
the Family Feud's really good.
That's how loopy it got. Yeah, we played Family Feud. All right, let's wrap this show up. So moving into our final kind of book wrap up, India Jones, ultimately, when you look back on the series, where do you situate book 9/10, Dust of Dreams, The Crippled God?
I think they're solid middle of the pack. I think that there's like probably a little bit more clout for The Crippled God because it was the last one. But overall, good books. Would I read them again? Maybe not. But maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, don't count her out yet.
Don't count. Honestly, a second read through might be actually not bad.
Watch what you say, Inge.
Yeah. That's how they get
India, let me ask you a follow-up question before I move on. Would you say you were satisfied with the ending?
Yeah. I mean, I would say yes. I would say it was wrapped up. Some things weren't, but I don't remember them anyway. So, yeah, I think it was definitely an ending of a book series.
It was an ending. You can't.
The books are over.
Yes.
You can definitely say it was an ending. Okay, Josh, coming to you.
I'll say what I said on the stream. I think AJ is the one who first said it. The fact that this is a 3 million word piece of literature, and I left the ending going, hell yeah, sick. It's a pretty good ending.
And were you satisfied?
I think they were good. I think they were good. I don't know. I'm opinioned out. We talked so in depth on this 2 days ago.
That's true. I will stress, you can catch the live stream. We really got into it, but time to come to the least tired co-host. That's right, like a mountain on the call. AJ Fileri.
Yeah, I was satisfied, I would say, with the ending, just to go reverse order, I guess. I was satisfied, but I did have The Crippled God pretty middle of the pack, like India said. And I think a lot of that is just because you finish the book and then it's like, cool, it's over, whatever. Here's what I thought about the book. And then you start thinking about other storylines that weren't necessarily wrapped up, or not that they weren't wrapped up. I don't know. I guess they were just like storylines that when I was satisfied with the way they ended. Barathol and Scalara, for example. I was satisfied with the way they ended, but I wish that there was a way for me to know that I didn't have to be waiting for them to pop back up.
And AJ, this is why I put Toll the Hounds where I put it, was like things like that, where that book had a lot of storylines that felt so imperative and necessary, and then
they ended.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just like a really interesting feeling of like, I don't know, expecting there to be like everybody gets their button, and maybe they did get their button. I don't fully remember where they left off, but like they got their button 2 or 3 books ago, and I wasn't like,
you didn't know that was your last time with them.
Right. Yeah. I didn't process it as an ending. I processed it as we'll see them when we actually do see their ending, or we'll see them do something else. So I would say that's probably the only thing that I was unsatisfied with The Crippled God, or with the ending of the series. But like in general, I really enjoyed the whole story of 9 and 10. And like I said on the stream, I am a slut for lore. So I really, really love Dust of Dreams for all that.
You're a slut for lore.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Well, AJ, I'll echo one element of your sentiment and then talk to parts of the ending I do like and really appreciate in my second time through. I think more than the elements, because I'm not actually that bothered by the fact that you don't see Barathol Scalar or these characters that are left in these other books.
Yeah, I just to clarify, I wasn't bothered.
I know you're not
by
bothered.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You sound pissed.
AJ's feuding.
Yeah. I'm not
there.
bothered. I am peeved.
But more, I think about a character like Bottle, who ostensibly is in the mix of it, a bone hunter, and this character we've gone with the whole time, but essentially is a character who kind of starts and then kind of just goes nowhere, in my opinion. You know?
Sure.
Really vanished in book 9 and 10. Book 10 especially.
Yeah, and some part of me can't help but feel a little let down by that, you know? Because to me, I contrast Bottle with someone like Barathol and Scalara, who I feel do have a really kind of satisfying and beautiful ending. Totally. And I'm like, okay, well, what was that about, you know? And just sometimes I feel like the sprawl of the plot is so big that it is unsatisfying for me, you know?
Did we ever get conclusions with all the like Aerosol stuff with Bottle?
No. Whatever you learned in like book 6 or so is pretty much all you ever learned.
That's wild.
Cool.
That's wild.
Cool.
But
whoa.
I think on the counterpoint to me, what I think I really love about this ending and what really boisters it and like kind of seals it as like, I think a really strong ending to the series, even though I don't know if I really connect with its execution, is like, to me, the vision of the ending is so compelling, and I so love the idea of what it's trying to accomplish, you know, and find it so kind of audacious and inspiring and creative and exciting, you know, that I'm definitely drawn into that and find it to be such a compelling idea and story that I do ultimately jive with it. And a lot of the storylines really, really work for me. But it is really big, and sometimes the size just overtakes me, and I feel like I'm kind of drowning in it, you know? Just with the sheer amount of characters and storylines. But I agree. I think although I think I ranked both of these pretty low when we had to rank the books on stream.
You were very harsh.
I wasn't harsh. I just, so this is putting an end to our Dust of Dreams Crippled God season. Listen, we read the last 2 books. We hope you enjoyed it. And before we wrap things up, just 2 quick things. First, please send us in an email or a message on Discord. We're going to be the kind of, for now, last episode about the entire series and our experience reading through and making this podcast. So send in any questions you want.
Yeah, we'll reopen the Mailbag channel as a series wrap-up Mailbag. So keep an eye on the Discord. Keep an eye on our Twitter for that. That'll be open for about... I guess at the time this episode comes out, like a week and a half.
Yeah, something like that. And then last, I want to say, if you have not had the chance to check out the awesome album art, episode art that we have done this season by Scout at Humble Goat, really incredible work. It was really, she worked with Dan Gesrick, our normal artist, and is really an awesome project to collaborate with. So we really would encourage you to check out the episode art. Really cool Malazan art. She did a great job. And we have some cool art this week, which will become our kind of new show art in a way.
The series art. Yeah,
this is our series art. So we hope you enjoy it. We're very happy and proud of it. So
yeah.
Okay, everyone. We're all exhausted here. We're gonna go to bed. Is there anything else we want to say about?
I'm not tired. Stop telling people I'm tired.
Oh my god.
AJ's fucking wide awake.
I'm fucking amped, man.
And they're staying on the call. Okay, they're gonna sit here for hours. We're gonna say goodbye, and AJ's gonna stay on mic. Okay.
It's kind of a threatening energy if I lean forward on the couch here.
It is a threatening energy when you lean forward like that. Here, let me try.
I will not hang up.
Not hang up.
I'm gonna hang up.
Maybe I just stand up and start pacing. Anyway. Cool. Thank you for listening. What else do we have?
This is about as threatening of as energy I can get.
Ooh, arms crossed.
The arms crossed made it way less threatening.
Eek.
Oh, you're
Someone's
a
angry.
little schoolgirl.
Someone's a little bit angry over there. Those are some angry arms.
I'm glad we're ending off off this season by doing a visual bit.
Would you have it any other way, AJ?
AJ, that's what years of podcasting teaches you. Okay,
Yes.
Years.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. When I say come, you say passion. Come.
Passion.
All right. Are we ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Tell me what it is, what it does, what it is, what it isn't.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right.
Ooh, can you keep going, AJ?
Looking for a better way to get up out of bed instead of getting on the internet and checking the hit again up. I used to love Macklemore.
I was like, I had no idea what you were doing.
AJ, keep that in the pod.
Yeah.
Keep that in the pod.
100% in the pod.
Wrapping up the show, but you got to keep that in the legacy, okay?
Okay.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.